Finally, guys, we are here making this video. We've been meaning to make this for 10 months now since the pandemic hit. We really have no excuse why we haven't made this, but we did have a busy year in the real estate world this past year in 2020. So we wanted to make sure we got this out on the front end of this year. So a lot of the time we get hit up by first-time buyers saying, hey, I don't really know where to start. Do I talk to you first? Do I talk to a lender first? So we're gonna kind of walk you guys through the entire process, start to finish. For those of you who don't know, my name is Nathan Mills. I am a Minnesota real estate agent with Metzen Realty and Associates. This gentleman right here is Travis Metzen. He is the owner broker of our company. Our company was started by his great-grandfather in 1948.
Yep, 48.
Boom. And we have been a family-run firm ever since then. We're a pretty small team, but we're growing more every year, and our numbers are growing more and more. So we kind of wanted to put this video out for you guys as just a free resource. Like, where do I start? Okay, now I know kind of what I'm getting into. So yeah, welcome to our first-time homebuyer virtual little course here. Before we dive too deep into this, you guys, we're just gonna have Travis give like a little market update of where we're at with things right now in the real estate world.
Yeah, so right now we're currently, and have been for some time, been in a seller's market. And what that means is essentially the sellers have the upper hand somewhat in the negotiations. Obviously, if you have a great agent like Nate or myself, you probably have the upper hand, let's be real here. But what that really means is that the inventory is just so extremely low right now. We're looking at just over a month's worth of inventory, and to put that in perspective, kind of to have an even market, we would have about 6 months of inventory. That would mean it's not a buyer's or a seller's market. So we're a long way away from that, and there's no end in sight as far as that. They're building homes as quick as they can, but the inventory is just so limited, and there's so many buyers out there. That's kind of what we're seeing in the market today. Another great thing that is making the market as busy as it is the interest rates. They're historically low. Clients are locking in the 2% regularly. It's projected to stay under 3 in 2021. Obviously, no one knows for sure, but that's what a lot of the experts and lenders are saying. So that's encouraging. That kind of gives you more buying power than you realize if it were in the 3 or 4%. Keeps that, it kind of offsets the record high prices for homes. Some people say that home prices are just crazy nowadays. Well, in reality, with the low interest rates, your payments are about the same they would be otherwise. So that's a little bit of an update about what's going on in the market currently. And I'm projecting it's still going to be a strong seller's market going into 2021, but with the right agents, like I said, we're going to make sure that you get the best deal possible.
Yeah, so we need more sellers. If you happen to be a seller watching this and you're not a first-time home buyer, hey, if you're looking to sell this year, we are more than happy to help you. We need more sellers in the market. We're going to walk you guys through this step by step. So step 1, talk to a real estate agent, preferably me or this guy or anyone on our team here at Metzen Realty and Associates. We'll kind of sit down with you, build a rapport, understand what you're looking for in your house, what meets your criteria. Just as far as, how many bedrooms you need, total square footage, how many garage spaces you need, if you need a fenced-in backyard. We say different strokes for different folks.
Absolutely.
Different things matter to different people. So we always suggest talking to us before you go and talk to a lender, just so we can kind of get a general feel of what you're looking for.
All right, so step 2. We want you to meet with a lender. We have we have several preferred lenders depending on your situation, so they can make sure to get you the best loan type possible that fits what your needs are. We have a large list of lenders that we're going to connect you with. Once you speak with them, we'll start the pre-approval process. And what that is they're going to ask for some standard documents. They're going to want to see some pay stubs. They're going to want to pull your credit. They're going to want to probably also look at some tax statements as well, and possibly some bank statements. Based on all that information, they're going to be able to figure out the important part, which is your budget, where your approval max would be. So when Nate and I start shopping around for you, we know that we're sticking within that budget that we were given. Obviously, just because they give us a max doesn't mean you have to spend that, but we know where our ceiling is in regards to loans. Step 3, we have several preferred lenders depending on your situation, so they can make sure to get you the best loan type possible that fits what your needs are. We have a large list of lenders that we're going to connect you with. Once you speak with them, we'll start the pre-approval process. And what that is they're going to ask for some standard documents. They're going to want to see some pay stubs. They're going to want to pull your credit. They're going to want to look at some tax statements as well, and possibly some bank statements. Based on all that information, they're going to be able to figure out the important part, which is your budget, where your approval max would be. So obviously, just because they give us a max doesn't mean you have to spend that, but we know where our ceiling is in regards to loans. Once you have submitted all of those documents to the lender of your choice, I mean, we're willing to work with whoever. Obviously, you don't have to use our preferred lenders. We just have great experiences with them, and we can vouch for them. But we're willing to work with whoever you have if you have a preference. Step 3 is once we've submitted all those documents, we're going to be issued an official pre-approval letter. Based on that, then now we really can go start shopping. So like Nate said, we're going to hone in on exactly what you're looking for in a home, location, what your needs are. And once we do that, we can set you up on what's called an auto email, because in today's market, homes realistically aren't lasting much more than a week top, sometimes hours. So we want to make sure that you see those homes as soon as they hit the market. And to do that, we can actually set you up on what's called an auto email. And that is essentially, we punch in all that criteria you've given us. It's punched into our multiple listing service matrix, and they can actually figure out as soon as a home that matches your criteria hits the market, it gets sent to you instantly. So another way to find homes, a lot of people, even though we're not the biggest fans of Zillow, Realtor.com, they are useful resources. Sometimes you find one that we may have overlooked. So we just ask that you send us the property address. We can do a little bit of due diligence, figure out if it's actually on the market. A lot of times we see that for some reason they're on there and they may have already sold, or their data is a little bit older than the MLS. We also each have our own individual branded app. That is synced to the multiple listing service, so it's got the most up-to-date data. So we prefer if clients use that, and it also helps us keep track of whatever homes that they have interest in. That way we can, essentially start shopping.
Step 4. So you've been on a few showings at this point. Maybe you've been on, it's not uncommon for us to show, I've had clients that I've showed 50 houses to before we finally got an offer to stick. Not gonna lie, it can be pretty competitive, but once you find the house you like, you make the offer. Boom, you make the offer. You and I sit down, we work out the terms of the contract, such as what price you're comfortable with. And I always like to say to my clients, what price are you comfortable? How high would you go on something that you love and you'd be okay with paying that, or how high would you like to go and you're okay losing?
Yeah, a lot of times we run into what's called a highest and best situation with the hot market that we're in. And essentially what that means is they set a deadline. Every potential buyer that's already looked at the home has a chance to submit an offer before that deadline, and they can come in with their highest and best offer. What that means is at that point, that is, the seller is going to assume that is the most or best you're willing to do. So they look at all the offers at one time, review them, and make a choice from there.
I tell clients, like, okay, if you're in love with something, what's the highest you're willing to go? And if you lose, you're okay with that. And if you win, you're okay with paying that. So if you're coming in over asking price, which is not at all uncommon in this market, especially in multiple offer situations, especially if you're asking the seller to pay any of your closing costs, you usually want to compensate for that in the offer price. So yeah, we'll work out the terms of what you're comfortable with as far as price, any other contingencies, inspection, which isn't required, but it's highly advised by us. We're always going to tell you to get an inspection. If you're making the biggest purchase of your life, what's an extra, $300 to $500, really? We'll also work out closing date. Typically, a lender would want a month or more, just to work out everything, get you through underwriting and things of that nature. So we'll work out that. Boom, step 5. We now have an executed contract signed by both parties. You'll send over what's called earnest money, which is just consideration to make the contract legally binding. Typically, it's 1% of the purchase price, but it can be honestly anything. It could be $1 if the seller's willing to accept $1. Just something that it doesn't even have to be money, actually.
Yeah, it could be anything.
I could give you my slipper as earnest money. If the seller was willing to accept this slipper as earnest money, then boom, we have something tangible, something that binds this contract together.
But let's be real, typically it's money.
Typically it is money. But yeah, so you'll send over the earnest money, and that's held in the listing broker's trust account until closing, and eventually that money goes back to you at closing, whether it go towards your down payment, your closing costs, sometimes towards a home warranty, anything of that nature.
All right, so step 6. After we get that established contract, that purchase agreement is what it's referred to. After we've sent that earnest money, next we want to set up the inspection. As Nate said, it's not a requirement, but if you're going to spend $100, $200, $300,000 on a home plus, it's highly recommended to get that $300 to $500 inspection done. They're a lot more in depth than what the average agent's going to understand about a home, or even the average home buyer, especially a first-time home buyer. This is all these inspectors do. They're very familiar with construction and the proper way for it to be done. Once we do the inspection, we're going to get a full inspection report from the inspector. Well, first we'll actually meet them at the property, walk through any questions you have about any of his findings. They'll have pictures, and we'll be able to discuss anything with the inspector. They'll list things that they think are higher importance. After that, they're going to actually send us a full report, which is usually 50-plus page reports of all the things that they've uncovered from a home. Now, keep in mind, no home's going to be perfect. Everything's going to have something uncovered, so don't panic. That's for Nate and I to kind of discuss, understand what your feelings are on what's very important, what may not be as important, what you can live with, what you can't live with. So that's really the next step, is the inspection. After we do that, we can negotiate repairs. That's also a nice reason to do an inspection. If there's something that is uncovered, we can ask for them to repair it, have it professionally repaired. We could maybe ask for money off of the price. There's a lot of things we can do to negotiate in your favor, and usually that outweighs the cost of the inspection itself. Not always, but usually. Step 7. So after we get through the inspection items, requests, what have you, we're going to let the lender know to go ahead and order the appraisal. What that is essentially going to send someone out to establish the value of the property. Obviously, the bank isn't going to lend hundreds of thousands of dollars without knowing it's actually worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So during the appraisal, there's a few different ways it can be approached. With a conventional loan, if that's the type of financing you're using, they're going to simply come out and establish value. They can still issue what's called a work order, which essentially is saying something is in such bad condition that they want it repaired prior to closing. It's pretty uncommon with conventionals, but they do happen rarely. The other type of appraisal would be like a FHA or a VA appraisal. They're a little bit more in depth. They don't just come out to look at value. They make sure that there's some other standards met, such as simple things like, they don't want to see peeling paint. They want to make sure that you have hand railings on all the staircases. Things like that. Usually they're smaller. Nothing to be afraid of. That's kind of the differences, and we can get a little bit more in depth once we get to that point with you. But after the appraisal is done, there's kind of there's kind of a limbo time where it all happens very quickly, and then there's kind of just a sit and wait game. And the reason for that is now the lender is really coming into play. You're going to need to make sure that you're on your game, sending them all the documents that they're asking for you when they ask for them, not a week or two later. That's going to obviously help us hit that closing date that we have scheduled. So the lender is going to send all your documents once they have everything they need from you through underwriting, and that takes a little bit of time as well. Underwriting is essentially, I'm sure you've dealt with it with any other loan that you may have done. They're going to have somebody review all the documents that you send to make sure that they feel that the loan is a good choice, that there's not any red flags that may stop the loan.
Just to add on to step 7 here. Also, after that appraisal comes back, your lender will be keeping you updated throughout the process as far as having conditional approval and then final approval, and then they'll be sending out your closing disclosure, which you're supposed to have 3 days before closing. That'll kind of give you your bottom line, your final number, what your monthly payment will be on your mortgage. So after you get all that, the week before closing, we'll be in touch with you at some point saying, hey, what day do you want to do your final walkthrough? This is the exciting time. Usually we do it the day before, sometimes the day of, sometimes 2 days before, whatever you can make work with your schedule. We'll get you in the house one more time, make sure everything is in the order that we last seen it in. So, making sure the place hasn't caught on fire, hasn't flooded. You can run the appliances, do some measurements that day, say, hey, my couch is going here, just kind of some time you can have in the house one more time before closing.
And it's actually a crucial time because we also double check to make sure any inspection requests for repairs, we're done.
Are also done, yeah.
We should have a better understanding before closing, because generally we're going to ask for a licensed contractor to do the work and also get paid invoices. So we have those for records for you, so you don't have to worry about anybody coming back at you asking, or applying a lien to the property or anything like that. So we want to make sure those are done as well.
That's a good point, Travis. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Step 9. We'll call this 9 and 10 because I don't know if we officially have a 10 or if 10 is just our outro. But step 9, closing. You've made it through all the stressful stuff and now it is closing day. This is the day that you'll be going to the title company's office. They'll give you a closing notice letting you know what time, the address, all that fun stuff. How much money you're either going to wire or bring to closing for your closing costs, all your escrows, things of that nature. So you'll either go to the bank the day before, initiate a wire transfer to the title company, and they'll give you super secure wiring instructions. Or you can bring it in a cashier's check depending on the title company and what you work out with them. Sometimes they have increments of how much you can bring cashier's checks in. So the day of closing, you'll go in. We'll typically be there with you if we can be, and we always try to be there with you for your big day. Typically they'll ask you to bring your ID, if you wired the money or the cashier's checks, whatever you need for your closing costs. What else?
Yeah, that's really all they're going to need. I always recommend bring a checkbook too, just in case those final numbers fluctuate a little bit. They will accept a personal check for up to $500.
Yes.
Generally, that doesn't happen, but there's rare instances where they're off by a few pennies or dollars, and the difference needs to be made up.
So yeah, bring an ID, personal checkbook, and a smile on your face because it's your big happy day. You might leave with a little bit of arthritis building up in the wrist, but you are a homeowner at this point.
Yeah, you're walking out of it with a house.
So you'll get your key, you'll take a picture with us. Cheese, boom, post it on the socials. There you have the home buying process, kind of start to finish. Obviously, every transaction is different, even for us. It's always a different circus, so that's what makes our job very entertaining for us, to say the least. And now here's where we like to think we're different than some other agents. We don't consider your closing the end of our relationship with you. In fact, we hope that's just the start of a long-standing relationship that we'll have with you, and that will be your go-to real estate person if you should ever want to sell your house. You ever want to buy an investment property, you want to upgrade your home. If you just have any questions in general, we want to be there for you before, during, and after your transaction, and we sincerely mean that. So it's not uncommon for me to text a client 2 months after closing and say, hey, send me some pictures of the house. I want to see what you've done with the place, We consider you our friends by the time this is all said and done. Yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys found this video to be somewhat informative. We didn't really make this to draw business for ourselves. If it does, that's awesome. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little ulterior motive, but at the same time, we just think everybody should have a general understanding of what they're going into when they're buying their first home, especially. So we really are in the business of empowering people to invest in themselves and their future.
Knowledge is power. That's why we're doing this. More to help educate you. If we get some business out of it, great. We just want you to make smart decisions, like Nate said, for your future.
Absolutely. And when we eventually post this video, we're going to put this on YouTube and hopefully be able to just kind of share this to people when they hit us up like, hey, I'm a first-time buyer. I'm not sure where to start. And then we're also going to provide a list of resources too. So, our preferred lenders, our go-to inspectors,
title companies.
I
mean, everyone. And this is going to be a small list, but that's the benefit you get for working with Nate or myself is we have a long list of pretty much anybody in any field. So depending on if you need a plumber, an electrician, what have you.
Moving company.
Yeah, we have all of that. So that's another perk you get for choosing us as your agent. Ready to rock?
I'm ready to rock.
All right, let's rock.
Let's do it. Boom, 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 boom. So boom, money, then boom. Cheese, boom, posted on the socials, and boom, 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 boom. So boom, boom, baby. Was that weird?
No, I think you hit it, man. Peeling paint.
Boom.
Boom!